There was something happening in that small kitchen in Puebla that no one quite explained. Every time Soledad tapped the worn wooden table with her trembling fingers, something shifted deep within the architecture of her mind. This was not superstition. It was not a nervous habit. It was a calculated, deliberate ritual born from the profound metaphysical teachings of Emmet Fox, and it was about to permanently alter her financial destiny. Soledad was 43 years old and had spent months drowning in a rising tide of unpaid bills. Her family's independent sewing business, which had sustained them for a decade, had inexplicably collapsed. Customers vanished. Wholesale orders evaporated into thin air, and she woke every single morning with a crushing, suffocating weight on her chest that made clear thought entirely impossible. Like most people in desperate circumstances, she had prayed. She prayed in the traditional, pleading, desperate way she had been taught since childhood. But the heavens remained silent, and her bank account remained empty. Then, a neighbor handed her a battered dog-eared book by Emmet Fox. Within its pages, she discovered a truth that completely shattered her entire understanding of prayer, God, and money. Fox wrote that prosperity is never a special favor that God grants to the lucky, the pious, or the deserving. Prosperity is a spiritual law. It is a precise, impersonal principle of the universe that responds strictly and mathematically to human consciousness. And most importantly, Fox taught that this prosperity consciousness could be systematically activated through physical acts charged with intelligent, directed faith. What Soledad was about to practice was not folklore or magic. It was what Emmet Fox termed scientific prayer, a highly specific technique that combines the raw power of deliberate physical movement with the absolute, unyielding declaration of spiritual truth. 7 deliberate touches on the table, a specific sequence of spoken words, for 7 consecutive days, and the demonstration of extra income began to materialize in her life in ways that defied logical explanation. Emmet Fox spent decades analyzing a very specific spiritual phenomenon. Why do some people pray and completely transform their financial lives overnight, while millions of others repeat the exact same words, shed the same tears, and receive absolutely nothing? The difference, he discovered, was not in the volume of their faith, the purity of their morals, or the emotional desperation of their plea. The difference lay in something remarkably precise, the physical anchoring of a spiritual truth. Fox taught that the human being is not merely a floating mind, nor are we merely a formless spirit. We are a complete, tripartite being where body, mind, and soul are designed to operate as a single, unified mechanism. When you declare a spiritual truth using only words, especially when your current reality is screaming that you are broke, you activate only a tiny fraction of your being. Your subconscious mind, which operates on physical and emotional evidence, easily deflects those words. It rejects them as wishful thinking. But when you deliberately incorporate a decisive physical gesture into that verbal declaration, the truth bypasses the logical mind. It penetrates all levels of your consciousness simultaneously. The physical action forces the body to participate in the reality of the prayer. The number 7 used in this ritual was not chosen at random, nor is it a lucky charm. In the profound Christian mystical tradition that Fox mastered and taught, the number 7 represents divine completion. It represents the absolute perfection of creation and the totality of the spiritual cycle. In the scriptures, Joshua did not circle Jericho once, he circled it 7 times before the walls collapsed. Jesus spoke of forgiving 70 times 7. The ancient texts use the number 7 as the unbreakable seal of that which God deems finished, perfect, and complete. Therefore, tapping the table 7 times while declaring the truth of divine abundance is an act of incarnated faith. It is not the physical strike against the wood that magically activates prosperity. It is the unified, laser-focused consciousness of the believer, recognizing in that exact fraction of a second that God is their singular, infinite, and inexhaustible source. It is the physical seal of the realization that no external economic condition, no market crash, and no unpaid bill holds any power whatsoever over divine law. Before we can even begin to understand the specific ritual, we must first understand why the vast majority of prayers for money completely and utterly fail. In his packed New York lectures during the heights of the Great Depression, Emmet Fox was unapologetically direct. People pray from the entirely wrong place. They pray from a state of terror. They pray from an acute awareness of lack. They pray from deep-seated doubt dressed up as hope. And because the universe is a mirror of consciousness, the law perfectly reflects back to them exactly what they project. More lack, more terror, more scarcity. When a person falls to their knees and cries out, "Oh, God, please send me money because I am in desperate need. I don't know how I will pay my rent." What are they actually doing? From a metaphysical standpoint, they are unconsciously declaring that they are destitute. They are affirming that they are separate from God's abundance, waiting on a miraculous external favor. They are telling their subconscious mind that their current poverty is far more real and powerful than divine provision. Fox called this the weak prayer of petition. It does not dissolve the financial problem, it fertilizes it. It roots the condition of poverty deeper into the subconscious mind, guaranteeing its continuation. Scientific prayer operates strictly from recognition, never from petition. You do not beg the universe for what is missing. You boldly declare what already exists in the invisible spiritual realm. Fox grounded this entire philosophy in the master instructions given by Jesus in Mark 11:24. Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Pay very close attention to the tense of that sentence. You must believe that you have already received it, long before you see it manifested in your physical reality. You do not pray to change God's mind about your finances. God is infinite abundance. His mind is already made up. You pray to change your own consciousness, to elevate your mind to the frequency where that abundance naturally and inevitably flows into your life. In the next part of this series, we will reveal the exact 9-word phrase that Emmet Fox engineered for this physical ritual, and we will break down the 5 uncompromising steps of metaphysical treatment that guarantee its success. The exact phrase Emmet Fox prescribed for this physical ritual is not a magical incantation. It was not pulled out of thin air. It is a formula constructed upon precise, unyielding spiritual principles. Every single word was chosen deliberately to operate as a surgical strike against the deeply rooted subconscious blocks of poverty. The phrase you must memorize, internalize, and declare is exactly 9 words long to the initiated mind. These seem like simple affirmations. To the metaphysical student, they contain 3 absolute, foundational spiritual facts that leave no room for doubt or misinterpretation. Let us break them down. First, God is my perfect source, not your employer, not the economy, not your clients, your spouse, or your investments. When you look to your job or a person as your source, you are worshiping a false idol. You are placing your financial destiny in the hands of fragile, fluctuating human conditions. By declaring God as the singular source, you immediately detach your financial survival from the chaos of the material world. Furthermore, that source is perfect. It has no limitations, it knows no economic depressions, and it can never, under any circumstance, run dry. Second, abundance flows to me. Notice the movement in the word flows. Stagnation is the hallmark of poverty. The divine nature is dynamic, constantly circulating, constantly providing. You are commanding the opening of infinite channels. Third, now. This is perhaps the most powerful word in the entire ritual. Not tomorrow, not when you finally get a promotion, not when the market turns around. Now. Emmet Fox taught relentlessly that the eternal now is the only dimension where God operates. The past is a memory, the future is an illusion. Divine provision can only be manifested in the immediate, eternal present. When you speak this 9-word phrase out loud, with a firm and audible voice, while physically tapping a solid wooden table or desk 7 times with your right hand, you close what Fox called the complete circuit of faith. Your rational mind declares the truth, your physical voice proclaims it into the atmosphere, and your physical body confirms it through the tactile sensation of the 7 touches. The 3 levels of your being are finally working in absolute unison to command the manifestation of what God has already prepared for you. Consider the case of Conchita, a widow who walked into Emmet Fox's New York lecture hall in the autumn of 1938. She was utterly hopeless, left with 3 small children and mountains of insurmountable debt. Fox taught her this exact treatment and gave her one strict instruction: she had to practice it every single morning, regardless of how terrified she felt. Faith is not an emotion. It is a decision of the will. Conchita practiced the 7-touch ritual that night. She practiced it the next morning, even as tears of panic streamed down her face. She practiced it the 3rd day, even as her rational mind screamed that hitting a table would not pay the rent. She pushed through the emotional resistance. By the 11th day, She received a letter from a law firm regarding an unknown life insurance policy her late husband had maintained. It cleared every debt and provided the seed capital for a business. When Fox heard the news, he did not call it a miracle. He cleared his throat and said calmly, "It is not a miracle. It is the spiritual law responding to faith applied with constancy and precision." You now have the phrase. You have the mechanics of the 5 steps. In our final session, Part 3, we will confront the most dangerous phase of this entire process, the silent gestation period, and exactly how you must manage your daily thoughts to ensure you do not sabotage the harvest before it arrives.